Exposed. The incredible moment a mafia boss crashed her wedding, revealing a hidden child. Sarah stood at the altar, the sun casting a warm glow over the garden, her heart racing as she prepared to say "I do" to Jake. Friends and family surrounded her, smiling, their eyes glimmering with joy. But as the sweet scent of roses filled the air, an unexpected chill swept through the crowd. Out of nowhere, the infamous Tony Romano burst in, all charisma but high tension, his presence darkening the festive atmosphere. Everyone gasped. Murmurs filled the air, like leaves rustling in a looming storm. Tony's piercing gaze zeroed in on Sarah, and a jolt of anxiety struck her heart. How could this man, with his sinister reputation and whispers of chaos, enter her moment of happiness? She felt the warmth of the day fade, replaced by sweat trickling down her brow. "Lily is my daughter," he announced, his voice echoing like thunder. "I'm here to claim what's mine." The crowd had fallen silent, shock rippling through family and friends. Tears pooled in Sarah's eyes. Confusion tightened her chest. The life she had worked so hard to build around her daughter flashed before her, a whirlwind of laughter, bedtime stories, and backyard barbecues in Maplewood. This wasn't just a wedding, it was the foundation of a new life with Jake, whom she envisioned giving Lily the stable upbringing she deserved. Recollections crashed in like ocean waves, memories of her spirited daughter dancing in her mind. She remembered how Lily would twirl and giggle, her eyes sparkling with imagination. Could this dark figure standing before her destroy the stability they cherished? Panic ignited within her, and she looked at Jake, whose expression turned from horror to concern for Sarah as her guests began to murmur, forming hushed alliances in the face of betrayal. Sarah felt the weight of loyalty and shame press down on her like a lead blanket. Friends she had laughed with for years exchanged glances filled with skepticism and fear. "How could you keep this from us?" she imagined them thinking. "Before we continue, I need to let you know about something important that's happening. YouTube has been making changes to the system, and many people are losing notifications from channels they follow. If you're enjoying the content, hit that bell and mark all notifications so you don't miss the next videos. And if you can drop a like, it really helps me with reach. Seriously, it makes a difference. Oh, let me know in the comments where you're watching from. I'm always curious to know who's on the other side of the screen. Now let's continue." Beside her, Jake's face morphed from shock to anger, fists clenched at his sides. But Sarah couldn't focus on him. Everything blurred, drowning in the reality of Tony's bombshell. Could she embrace this dangerous allure with promises of wealth and protection? Or was she simply being dragged into a world filled with hidden secrets and threats? Heart racing, she wrestled with emotions, love for her daughter thrumming against the ideals her parents instilled in her. But how could she turn her back now? How could she ignore the gravity of Tony's claim? As the room swirled with anticipation, she knew serene family values were being challenged in front of everyone she loved. Just as her resolve began to solidify, a sharp vibration in her pocket broke through the chaos, a call from an unexpected ally. She glanced down, the weight of uncertainty clawing at her heart. Whoever was on the line could change everything, drawing a final defining line between her old life and the new chaos unfolding before her. Sarah's heart raced as she pulled out her phone, her mind in a haze of confusion. The name flashing on the screen startled her. It was Lucas, her brother, her rock, the one person who knew her best. She hesitated for a brief moment, then pressed the green button. "Sarah." His voice came through, filled with urgency. "What is happening?" "I saw it online." "Is that?" "Yes." Her voice trembled, almost cracking under the pressure. "Tony is here. He claims Lily is his daughter." The silence was thick on the other end. She could almost hear Lucas processing the chaos unfolding from afar. "You need to get out of there, Sarah. I'll come and meet you. We can figure this out together." Before she could respond, the phone buzzed again. This time it was Jake, panic evident in his tone. "Sarah, please don't let this guy intimidate you. We'll protect Lily." "I don't know what to do, Jake." The tears she had been holding back spilled over, trailing down her cheeks. "He's her father. Or at least claims to be. Everything I've worked for could fall apart." Tony strolled further into the garden, power radiating from him. "You can't run from the truth, Sarah. You think this life is what Lily needs? I can give her the world. Think about what I can offer. A life free from the little struggles of suburbia." Gasps echoed from the guests. Whispers morphed into louder discussions. Sarah felt the eyes of everyone piercing into her, requesting answers she didn't have. It wasn't simply the chaos of the moment, it was the haunting thought that these accusations might somehow reveal truths she couldn't face. Suddenly, the familiar face of her mother appeared in her line of sight. Jessica approached, her eyes flooded with concern. "Sweetheart, we need to figure this out. Does Tony have any proof?" "Proof? I don't know," Sarah stammered, feeling the cracks in her world make way for a storm. "I didn't even know he existed until now. He can't just waltz in and claim my baby." The chaotic scenes around her swirled. Flowers in bloom against graying skies. She tried to ground herself, taking slow, deep breaths, but her heart pounded a frantic rhythm. What kind of life would Lily have if Tony were to take her away? The love she felt for her daughter surged inside her chest, like an unbreakable bond pulling her back from the edge of despair. "Sarah, listen to me," Lucas spoke firmly through the phone. "Legal advice first. We'll need to know where we stand. This isn't a fair fight without the right resources." "Lucas, please, I can't think right now," she interjected, panic rising again. "I can't just stand here and do nothing." Jake stepped closer, a hand on her shoulder, grounding her. "What if I spoke to him? Maybe we can figure out a way to know." Sarah pushed back, the fierce protectiveness rising again. "You don't understand. This is bigger than you and I. He's dangerous." Tony's gaze flickered, a hint of amusement dancing in his eyes. "So you realize, don't you? I'm not here to make demands. I'm here for my daughter." The words hung heavily over the crowd. The flicker of doubt ignited the flame of fear within Sarah. What if he were telling the truth? What if everything she fought for was tangled in a web of lies and hidden relationships? In that moment, she realized she was at a crossroads. Decisions loomed ahead. The silence that enveloped the garden was almost deafening, everyone awaiting her next move. The vibration of her phone broke through the noise once again, but this time it felt as if it were a warning. She glanced down. Another call. This time an unknown number. Her heart raced again. What if it was more news? Or someone trying to throw another wrench into her life? Could this truly turn worse? She thought. Another chapter ahead seemed inevitable, but these were unwritten pages, filled with uncertainty and the burning question of who could be trusted. With resolve blooming amid doubt, she took a deep breath and pressed the button to answer the call. "Hello?" Sarah's voice wavered, swimming in anxiety. The silence on the other end weighed heavy, straining her patience. "Sarah?" A deep voice broke through, steady and authoritative. "It's Detective Morris. I'm looking into a very delicate matter regarding Tony Marks." Her heart skipped. "Delicate? You could say that," she replied, clenching her fists, the uncertainty twisting her stomach. "What do you know?" "We have reason to believe that Tony has been misrepresenting himself. There are claims tied to previous criminal activity that he's involved in," he continued, with a tone that balanced professionalism and urgency. "What? You mean he's?" Her mind raced as the implications piled up. "He's dangerous. I need to protect Lily." "Exactly. That's why I'm calling. I recommend you take precautions before he maneuvers to establish any sort of custody." A chill skated down her spine. The idea of Tony being dangerous was one thing, but a connection to criminal activity cast a dark shadow. "I can't lose her. I didn't even know he existed until moments ago." "Listen carefully," Morris advised. "You need to gather information on Tony's past. See if anything can help you understand what you're up against. I can dispatch an officer to your location if you feel threatened." A glance toward Jake and her mom confirmed what she already knew. They were all watching her, faces twisted in concern. Suddenly the intricacies of getting out of this mess felt insurmountable. Okay. Thank you, Detective. I'll do that." As she ended the call, Sarah took a breath, pulling together her mind to prepare her next steps. She looked at the people surrounding her. Everyone felt like a lighthouse in a storm, but those lights flickered hazily. "Did he say anything useful?" Jake asked, stepping forward. "He knows about Tony. He's going to help. But I have to figure out his past," she replied, her voice barely above a whisper. "What about your connections, Jake? You think you can dig up something on him?" "Absolutely," he nodded, determination shining in his eyes. "We'll go through everything we can find. We'll surround Lily with everything it takes." "Mom?" Sarah turned towards her. I need your help too. Could you reach out to some of your friends? They may have heard things about Tony or run into him. Anything could help. Jessica's face hardened with resolve. I'll contact everyone I can. We'll figure this out together, honey. In that moment of unity, surrounded by those she loved most, a flicker of hope ignited within Sarah. Maybe they could beat this. Maybe the bond of family and friends would carry her through. But then Tony stepped forward, breaking the fragile moment. Not so fast. He stood there, as if he had materialized out of thin air, the charisma and menace wrapped in one. You think you can just rally up a defense against me? I have everything I need to prove I'm worthy of being her father. Panic washed over Sarah. The man was relentless. You can't just come here and make demands. Oh, but I can, he said, crossing his arms, defiance oozing from his posture. And trust me, this is only the beginning. You'll see. The crowd behind her gasped, sensing the shift. Sarah's heart thundered in her chest. It was time to act. They were in a race against the ticking clock. Time was no longer her ally. Every second brought more danger, more uncertainty. Think, Sarah. Think, she whispered to herself. She needed to ask the questions that would draw the line. Digital footprints, hidden connections, secrets buried deep. What would she uncover in the quest to protect her daughter? As if reading her mind, the phone rang once again, jolting her back to reality. Another unknown number. With trepidation, she picked up. Hello? And then there it was, a voice that made her insides twist. Sarah, you don't know me, but we need to talk about Tony. And the truth. Her breath caught in her throat. What could this stranger reveal? Was it information that would change the game? Her heart raced anew. The real battle was just beginning. Who is this? Sarah demanded, trying to keep her composure as her heart raced. The unfamiliar voice on the line made her pulse quicken. You don't need to know my name. What you need to know is that I have information about Tony, the voice replied, low and urgent. Meet me in 20 minutes. The old cafe on Maple Street. If he gets wind of this before you do, you'll lose your chance to protect your daughter. Wait. How do I know this is into a trap? There was a brief silence, and then the voice responded, you'll just have to trust me. But remember, no one will be watching out for Lily like you. I'll expose the man you think you know. Don't let him see you hesitate. Before she could respond, the call ended, leaving her with a mix of fear and determination swirling in her gut. Whipping her head around, she looked at Jake and her mom, who were waiting anxiously for her next move. What happened? Jake asked, his brows knitted in concern. It was someone who claims to know about Tony, Sarah said, her voice steadier than she felt. They want to meet me. I think it could be a lead. Her mom gasped softly, stepping closer. You can't go alone. I have to. If this is real, if this could protect Lily, I can't let fear get in the way, Sarah insisted, feeling the weight of her mission settle on her shoulders. Then I'm going with you, Jake declared, the fire in his eyes unwavering. No. You need to stay with Mom and Lily, Sarah countered, shaking her head. If Tony shows up here, I need you both to keep her safe. Sarah. Her mom began to protest but was interrupted. Please just trust me, Sarah begged, the urgency of the situation pressing down on her. After a moment of tension-filled silence, Jessica nodded, although her worry was palpable. Be careful, honey. Call us as soon as you can. With a deep breath, Sarah slipped out of the room she'd been standing in. She grabbed her coat and slipped on her shoes, heart pounding hard enough that she could hear it in her ears. Each step felt heavier than the last as she made her way toward the meeting place. The cafe was only a few blocks away, but the journey felt like a lifetime. Memories of her brief encounter with Tony flashed in her mind. His smirk, that unsettling confidence. She shuddered, suppressing the urge to turn back. As she arrived at the cafe, it loomed before her like a portal to the unknown. She pushed the door open and the bell chimed softly, the scent of roasted coffee beans wrapping around her like a familiar blanket. Her eyes scanned the room for any sign of the mystery caller. A couple of regulars were seated in the corner, chatting over muffin crumbs, but no one seemed out of place. Anxiety crept in again. What if this was just a cruel trick? Sarah. A voice broke her thoughts. She turned to see a tall man with dark hair, an edge of seriousness etched into his features as he gestured toward an empty table in the back. Are you? Sarah ventured. Yes. Let us talk, he said, urgency in his voice. We don't have much time. She took a seat, her mind racing with questions. Who was this man? How did he know Tony? And what could he reveal that might change everything? What do you know about Tony? She asked, leaning forward, instinctively protecting the space where her heart ached for Lily. The man looked around cautiously before leaning in. You need to understand he isn't just any man. He is connected. You're in deeper than you think. And if you don't listen to me, you'll put yourself and your daughter in danger. A thrill of fear shot through her, but she couldn't back down now. Tell me what you mean. What have you seen? He opened his mouth, but suddenly the door swung wide, a gust of air rushing in, heralding the arrival of Tony himself. Sarah's blood ran cold. The real fight was about to begin, and she had no idea just how deep the dark waters ran. Would she uncover enough to protect her daughter, or would this confrontation spell disaster? As the tension in the room escalated, she felt the weight of decisions pressing down on her. What secrets would Tony reveal next? And how would it impact their lives? The heavy door of the cafe slammed shut with a finality that echoed in Sarah's chest. The air thickened, charged not only with the scent of coffee, but with an impending sense of confrontation. She couldn't let her eyes stray from Tony as he stepped further inside, confidence radiating from him like heat from a flame. Tony, she breathed, the name barely a whisper. The man across the table from her stiffened, casting a quick glance at Tony, who was now scanning the cafe with a predator's gaze. The urgency of the situation crashed over her like a wave. What do you want? She demanded, forcing her voice to rise above the growing noise of her pulse in her ears. Tony turned away from the regulars and focused solely on her. His dark eyes sparkled with a mix of mischief and danger. Sarah, darling, he started, that irritating nickname dripping with sarcasm. I thought we had a date. I didn't realize you were playing hard to get. Cut the crap, Tony, she replied, her fear morphing into anger. Why are you here? I was just in the neighborhood, he shrugged, but his eyes were piercing. There was something unnerving about his casual demeanor. As if he knew something she didn't. A power dynamic tilted sharply in his favor. Losing her nerve wasn't an option. She couldn't let him win, not when Lily was the focal point of everything she did. You don't want to be here, Tony. Not with me. Not now. Oh, but you're mistaken, he said, stepping closer, invading her personal space. I'm exactly where I want to be tonight. The man at the table with her, who had been quiet so far, finally spoke up. You need to leave, Tony, he said, voice tense, eyes narrowing. This doesn't concern you. Tony turned to him, amusement flickering across his face as he sized him up. And who do we have here? A savior in a coffee shop? Please don't make me laugh. Enough, Sarah yelled, baring her teeth. This is about my daughter. You will never have any part in her life, do you hear me? For a fraction of a second, she saw his expression shift, a flicker of trouble beneath his confident facade. But it dissolved quickly, replaced by a sly smile. Oh, but you see, love, he drawled, leaning in closer, that's where you're wrong. The tension in the room suffocated her. She felt trapped as Tony's voice lowered. It's so much deeper than you think. What you don't know could fill an ocean. She swallowed hard, a knot forming in her throat. What are you talking about? You'll find out soon enough, he said with a chilling calmness, his smile as bright as the fear that threatened to consume her. But let's just say, family ties are a lot more complicated than you imagine. Her stomach churned as she wondered what secrets Tony could reveal that would impact her and Lily. He was playing games, and somehow it felt like she was risking everything just by sitting there. Listen, the man next to her said, his voice now firm. If you don't leave now, I'll call the police. Tony chuckled, shaking his head. Good luck with that. I've got friends in high places. He turned fully, now facing Sarah, and the flickering lights above cast shadows across his calculating expression. But don't worry. I'm not here to play the bad guy yet. Just remember, actions have consequences. And then, with that disquieting smile still etched on his face, he walked out of the cafe, leaving a door swinging closed behind him in a silence that felt almost deafening. Sarah was left trembling. What did he mean? The stakes were higher than ever, and panic clawed at her mind, threatening to pull her under. I need to call my mom, she said, her voice shaking as she fumbled for her phone. The man beside her nodded, concern now etched across his face. Sarah, wait. He grabbed her wrist gently but firmly. You need to know something. You're not safe, not yet. There's more you need to understand about him, and we don't have much time. Her heart raced again at his words. Was there more information hidden in the shadows, waiting for her to uncover it? Tell me, she whispered, the weight of the moment pressing down on her. Let us go somewhere private, he urged, glancing around. There's a lot I need to explain and we have no time to waste. Hesitation danced in her mind, but the urgency in his voice snapped her focus back to Lily. With a deep breath she nodded. Would this lead her to a truth that could save her daughter, or plunge them deeper into danger? As she followed him out the door, a new wave of uncertainty washed over her. Where was this path leading, and would she ever truly be able to protect what mattered most? The cold evening air hit Sarah's face the moment she stepped outside. The cafe's warmth faded into the background, replaced by a biting chill that matched the turmoil in her chest. He led her down the street past flickering streetlights, his grip on her wrist reassuring, yet she fought against the urge to pull away. Where are we going? She asked, glancing backward. She half expected to see Tony lurking in the shadows, a predator waiting for his moment. To my car, he replied, quickening his pace. I promise you'll want to hear what I have to say. It's serious. Fear tangled with curiosity inside her. What could possibly be worse than what Tony had just hinted at? They crossed an empty parking lot and soon reached a nondescript sedan. He opened the door for her, motioning for her to get in. Reluctantly, she slid into the passenger seat, eyeing him with suspicion as he settled into the driver's seat. First things first, he said, starting the engine. Do you know who Tony really is? Yes, a jerk who thinks he can control my life. Sarah snapped, tension tightening her voice. What else? He took a deep breath, his expression shifting from concern to determination. I mean, who he really is. His family, his past. There are things he hasn't shared with you, things you need to know to protect yourself and Lily. How do you know this? She asked, crossing her arms defensively. What do you have to do with him? A flicker of pain crossed his face, but it was replaced quickly with resolve. I'm not his friend. I have my reasons to warn you. He leaned closer, his eyes locked on hers, creating an intensity that made her heart race. Tony is deeply tied to a powerful crime family. The kind of people who don't take kindly to threat or betrayal. Her stomach dropped. You're saying he's part of the mob? He nodded. Yes. And if he feels cornered, he won't hold back. He'll come after you, and he'll use everything in his power to hurt your family. Fear seeped into her bones. What does that mean for Lily? Is she in danger? Exactly. That's why you need to listen, he persisted, urgency painting his features. You must keep your distance from him. Completely. You need to start making plans, moving somewhere safe. Her pulse kicked up a notch. You want me to run? Just leave everything behind? Not just run. You need a strategy. It isn't just about distance. It's about being smarter than him. Before Sarah could respond, he abruptly stopped, his eyes focused on a car behind them. The headlights bore down on them, bright and unyielding. Her breath hitched in her throat, fear creeping back in. Stay down, he ordered, his voice low and deadly serious. I think he found us. A knot tied itself in her stomach as she ducked, pressed against the seat. She couldn't believe this was happening, not now. Not over this man who had wreaked havoc in her life. I didn't want it to come to this, he muttered, glancing in the rearview mirror, his hands gripping the wheel like it was a lifeline. But we're running out of time. The headlights narrowed, illuminating their vehicle like a spotlight. What was about to unfold? Would Tony's threats manifest, or could they find a way to escape a fate she never asked for? As her heart raced wildly, Sarah thought of Lily. The thought of losing her tore at every fiber of her being. What do we do now? She whispered, panic igniting in her veins. His gaze met hers, filled with a mix of steel and concern. Now we decide if we fight or flee. And just outside, in the suffocating silence of night, a shadow stepped forward, signaling that the true battle was about to begin. The headlights flickered, and the car's surrounding darkness felt thick and suffocating. Sarah's heart hammered against her chest, a frantic rhythm that felt like it could drown out the heavy silence. She stole a glance at him, desperate for guidance, for an inkling of reassurance that there was still hope. Do you think it's him? She whispered, her voice trembling. It has to be, he said, his eyes narrowing into determined slits. Stay alert. If it is Tony, we'll need to think fast. The figure approaching didn't seem certain, hesitating as if weighing its options. Sarah felt a mix of dread and surreal hopefulness at the idea of confronting the man who had turned her life upside down. Was it crazy to feel anything but pure fear? The car's interior felt claustrophobic. With every beat of silence, each moment stretched painfully. She could almost hear the gears turning in his mind as he strategized their escape. Listen, he continued, his knuckles white against the steering wheel. If it is him, don't show any weakness. Act like you know what you're doing. If we can make him think you're not scared, but how could she not be scared? She wanted to scream, yell at the world, but instead she just nodded, trying to absorb his words. Then, without warning, a pounding sound broke through the stillness. Someone knocked on the window, and her stomach dropped. She recognized the shadow immediately. It was Tony. The way he stood, that smug confidence, sent chills down her spine. Sarah, open up. The voice was sharp, uncompromising, her breath caught. She found herself gripping the seat as if it were an anchor, trying not to show the panic roiling inside her. Her instincts screamed at her to flee. Yet the reality of their situation left her frozen. What now? She stammered. Do not open that door. The man beside her didn't break eye contact with her. Stick to the plan. We have to outsmart him. In that moment, she realized that doing nothing could be just as powerful as any rush to action. Every ounce of her training in the art of evasion flooded back the quiet, the calm in the storm. Theirs was a high-stakes game and she had to be ready. Sarah, I know you're in there. Tony pounded again, more insistent this time. She could almost picture him sneering, face illuminated by the harsh light of the street lamp. Don't make this harder than it has to be. Just get out. Keep breathing, he said, watching her closely. Let him think you're still under his thumb. That's our advantage. As he spoke, the tension inside the car became palpable, like a tightly wound coil ready to snap. Sarah's eyes darted to the rearview mirror, searching for any sign of escape. All she could think about was Lily, her baby girl who was probably curled up and sleeping, blissfully unaware of the danger surrounding them. I won't let him hurt you or Lily, she whispered fiercely, feeling strength emanate from deep within. There's a way out of this. Just trust me. His eyes flickered toward the rearview, assessing the situation. Another knock, this time with an ominous flare. I'm serious, Sarah. I don't want to hurt you. Just come out and talk. What does he want? She breathed, her heart pounding. Power. Control. A chance to make sure you're on his side. He can't handle being challenged. But deep inside, Sarah felt a surge of defiance. He thought he had control, but maybe it was time she took back the narrative. Then, just as she steeled herself for what might come next, she turned to him, eyes wide. We can't let him manipulate us any longer. There has to be a way out. We can't just wait here and hope he goes away. A flash of understanding passed between them. They both knew that the stakes had risen, and action was imperative. Then let us do this, he said, determination washing over his features as they prepared themselves for the confrontation. Her heart raced, fueled by adrenaline. She was no longer just a frightened woman, she was a fighter. The confrontation loomed ahead, and as she steeled herself, she knew that whatever happened next would change everything. What if this was the moment they seized control of their lives or lost everything? The door rattled again under the weight of Tony's impatience, echoing ominously in the small interior. Time stood still. And then she heard something that sent a shiver down her spine, a backup vehicle revving up nearby, ready to intervene. Would Eliza emerge from the shadows? Or was this just the beginning of something even darker? The engine's growl intensified, a harsh contrast to the eerie stillness that hung in the air. Sarah's stomach twisted as she glanced back at the rearview mirror, seeing headlights slice through the night like a beacon of hope or doom. She couldn't tell which. Who is it? She whispered, trying to hide the tremor in her voice. Back up, he said, eyes scanning the darkness outside. Let us hope they're on our side. Tony's pounding echoed relentlessly, filling the space with a sense of urgency that felt suffocating. Sarah, open up. We need to talk. His voice dripped with fake concern, the kind that made her skin crawl. Keep calm, he urged, his voice low but steady, cutting through her rising anxiety. He glanced back at her, determination fueling his expression. When I say go, we move. Every second felt like an eternity. The sound of footsteps was growing louder now, crunching on gravel, and Sarah tucked her hair behind her ear, hoping it would calm her racing heart. With every knock, she felt less like herself and more like a puppet in Tony's cruel game. Do you think those lights belong to someone who can help us? She barely dared to hope. They might be our only shot, but we have to be smart. If he suspects anything, he'll go after us both, he replied, scanning the area as if the answer would fall into his lap. Deep inside, Sarah felt a flame of resolve ignite. I can't let him control me anymore. Not here, not now. She took a deep breath, remembering Lily's laugh, the way her little eyes sparkled. She was fighting not just for herself but for her daughter too. Can you distract him? Get him away from the door? Yeah. I'll draw his attention. He nodded crisply. You get ready to make a run for it as soon as I create any opening. You need to trust me, Sarah. A knot of fear twisted in her gut, but she forced herself to nod. I trust you. The plan was simple but fraught with risk. The backup vehicle's engine roared again, the sound reverberating like a warning bell in her ears. It was now or never. Suddenly the knocking stopped. Silence fell, thick and suffocating. Curiosity and dread coiled inside her. Did you hear that? She barely exhaled. I did. Stay low. He slid lower in his seat, his body tense as he peered out the front windshield. When she saw movement, Tony was stepping back, becoming a shadow. A chill crawled up her spine. What's he doing? I don't know, he whispered, his intense gaze never leaving her. Stay alert. Then, as if the darkness had a mind of its own, Tony lunged forward again. You think you can just stay hidden? You don't know who you're messing with. Her breath caught in her throat. The anger in his voice sent a surge of adrenaline through her. What was his next move? Now, he shouted, throwing open the door and sprinting towards Tony. She followed, heart pounding, limbs moving with instinct. The world outside felt surreal, the headlights, the gravel crunching under their hurried steps. It was a whirlwind of chaotic energy. Over here, he called out, arms flailing to grab Tony's attention. Sarah's heart pounded as she ran, every step bringing her closer to freedom but also to the confrontation that awaited. From the corner of her eye, she saw the backup vehicle's headlights flash across the scene, illuminating their desperate dash. As Tony turned, surprise flickered across his face. What are you doing? Taking control, she yelled, pushing past fear and reclaiming the moment. And in that instant, with the air thick with tension and the promise of chaos, she took a bold step toward her fate. Would the cavalry truly come to their rescue, or would this gamble only thrust them further into danger? The stakes were climbing higher, and her heart raced at the thought of what lay ahead. The metal shell of the car loomed behind them, a fortress of desperation now abandoned. Sarah pulled her breath in tight, her mind racing as she forced her legs to move. The gravel crunched beneath her sneakers, each step pounding out her resolve. Sarah, what are you doing? Tony yelled, throwing himself in the path between her and Tony. I'm not letting him intimidate me anymore, she shouted back, strained but defiant. The surging adrenaline fueled her, raw and wild. Tony's eyes widened, torn between supporting her courage and the looming threat just a few feet away. Be careful. But before he could finish, Tony lunged toward them, a scowl etched deeply on his face. You want to play games? Let us play. His voice echoed with fury, and not a hint of the tenderness Sarah once believed he had. Instinctively, Sarah slowed her pace, her thoughts colliding in chaotic confusion. Just moments ago, she had felt powerful by defying him. Now, dread enveloped her like a cold, wet blanket. She felt small again, her strides heavy with uncertainty. Tony, don't, she cried, panic spilling from her lips. But in the midst of her heartbreak, she glanced back toward the backup vehicle. The headlights had shifted, they were moving, they were here. She caught sight of figures emerging, silhouettes against the luminous glow, ready to offer salvation or chaos. Help us, she cried, raising her arms in desperation. The new arrivals paused, their faces obscured by shadows. Whispers filled the air, an electric charge of uncertainty. Were they here to rescue her, or had they come with their own agenda? Tony's eyes darted between her and the newcomers. You really think they're going to help you? He laughed, but there was a sharp edge to that laugh, breeding fear. They're just as bad. No, she countered, finding a reservoir of strength within her. They're here for me. A sudden movement caught her attention. One of the figures stepped closer, illuminated now by the headlights, an imposing presence, powerful yet calm. Step away from her, the newcomer commanded, voice firm and unwavering. And who the hell are you? Tony spat, his recent bravado starting to fade. Someone who knows who you really are, the man replied, the corner of his mouth twitching into a smirk that echoed his confidence. In that moment, a flicker of hope blossomed in Sarah's chest. Perhaps there was a way out after all. Don't you dare! Tony roared and charged toward the newcomer, fists clenched tight. Time slowed as Sarah watched the impending clash. A primal scream rose within her, a desperate call for security for herself and for Lily. Stop! She yelled, her voice breaking through the chaos. This isn't what I wanted. The world around her blurred. The voices melded into a singular roar. But she felt like a lighthouse settled on solid ground amidst a storm. Her family was out there, her daughter's laughter still ringing in her ears. The backup figure paused just an inch from Tony, calm under pressure, and locked eyes with Sarah. We're here because of you. Stay strong. With that glimmer of confidence, Sarah took a step forward, heart pounding not in fear, but in resolute determination. She was ready to reclaim her life, to confront the brutality of her past. But then the unthinkable happened. Tony lunged, but fate had other plans. A sudden rush of chaos erupted as hands grabbed him, the backup team springing into action, the echo of confusion mixing with shouted orders that filled the air. Was she truly free now? What else was about to unravel? As the mayhem unfolded, her heart raced with new uncertainty, and she wondered, had she truly escaped Tony's grasp, or was she only stepping from one shadow into another? The chaos of the moment exploded around Sarah like fireworks in a night sky. The backup team, sharp and organized, acted quickly, grabbing Tony before he could hurt anyone. The air buzzed with energy as Sarah watched, breathless, gripping tightly to her newfound hope and determination. Get her to safety, one of the officers shouted, eyes watching the struggle with fierce conviction. The world narrowed. Only those sounds mattered, the chaos swallowing her fears. Sarah! A familiar voice broke through, and she turned to see Jake sprinting toward her, worry etched on his face. He was flanked by her mother, Jessica, both rushing to bridge the distance. Relief surged in her chest, a wave of comfort washing over her as they pulled her into a protective embrace. I was so scared, she cried, tears of relief spilling over. I couldn't let him take Lily. We know, her mother said, voice soothing yet firm as she wiped away Sarah's tears. We're all going to be okay now. The sounds of struggle faded into the background, replaced by the calm presence of the officers managing Tony, who was now held firm, his defiance no match for the collective strength of the team. The shadows of Tony's threats began to collapse like a house of cards, and in their place, a sense of empowerment grew. What happens next? Sarah asked, worry still knitting her brow. Next, we bring Tony in, one of the officers answered, calm and reassuring as he turned to face her. And then we'll make sure you and your daughter are safe. Each word filled the space around her with warmth and confidence. Behind her, she felt Jake's reassuring grip. Together we're going to find a way to ensure Lily's safety. No matter what, he promised, and his eyes shone with a fierce determination she had never seen before. In that moment, Sarah realized that she had never been alone in this fight. It was more than just blood connections. It was about family, about love and support, the kind that forged unity in times of chaos. It would be the foundation for everything she built moving forward. The night air felt different now, almost electric. The fear of the past was being replaced with promises of a brighter future. With Tony in custody, the shadows of uncertainty began to lift. She could finally begin to piece her life back together. Let us get home, she said softly, her heart filled with newfound strength. Let us go to Lily. As they walked together towards the patrol car, Sarah took a deep breath, letting everything settle within her. Every struggle had led her to this moment, and she could face anything ahead. She would make sure Lily's giggles filled their home again, steady and bright like the morning sun breaking through clouds. Back in the car, she felt Jake's hand wrap around hers, steady and warm. We'll figure it out. All of it, he declared as they drove towards their next chapter. With or without Tony. And that flicker of possibility opened a door she had thought locked forever, sending them on a journey of healing, rediscovered trust, and relentless courage before them. For all the moments past and those yet to come, she felt prepared, a warrior armed with love for Lily and a family beside her to share the burden. With sunrise approaching, illuminating the path ahead, she whispered, "Let us make it right." The warmth filled the space between them, a promise of renewal, forging a better fate. This was it. Now was the time to embrace change, to build their future stronger than before. And just as dawn breaks into the darkest night, Sarah understood that she would never surrender her hope again. If this story spoke to your heart, don't just sit there. Subscribe immediately to our channel. You need to see what happens next in our next exclusive stories. And leave a like right now to feed the algorithm. Seriously, it makes a difference. We want to hear from you. Comment below your feelings and reactions about this ending. Share instantly this video with at least 5 friends who need to see this incredible transformation. Don't wait not even one more second to share. Only true fans really understand the importance of supporting us through these actions.